Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are pleased to have a return appearance of the County of San Diego Child and Family Well-Being Department, Diana Macis, Protective Services Program Manager for the county. How are you doing? It's always good to see you in here.
Well, thanks for having me back, Drew. Doing really well.
We're very, very good over here. And you've got a colleague and a friend, Yvette Romero. She's a former foster youth. How you doing, Yvette?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Okay, Diana, we'll start with you. For those very few of our Spotlight people that have not heard you before, maybe you can talk about a little bit about the mission of what you folks do.
So Child and Family Well-Being, we do many things. We have embarked on restructure of our agency last year. And part of our agency is really working at the strengthening families and healing families and really more prevention work. And then the other side we call Office of Child Safety, which is what people probably know in the public more, protective work, looking at assessing child abuse. We get calls to the hotline, our child abuse hotline, and assessing if there's a need to protect a child.
Right, exactly. And I think I've asked this to you before, and I'll continue to ask this to you, and all the other people that work in that space as well, whether it's San Diego Center for Children or a lot of your colleagues in that area, or YWCA and so forth, that works, in this group. Are we reducing the amount of child abuse and neglect? Is it staying the same? Is it going up? Where are we?
Well, we've seen a reduction in youth that are coming into care.
Okay.
So children that are actually being removed, which is a good thing.
Yes,
Probably, it is. When Yvette was in care, for example, we had close to 7,000 youth in care, and now we're down to 1,900. So
wow, that's
quite a big difference.
So what do you assess that to?
I think there's a number of different things. Over the years, the agency has really looked at, like I think what I mentioned in our first podcast was through a lens of how can we help support this family and not have to remove them and connect them to their communities so that they can remain in their homes safely.
Yeah, and that was so well stated when you've been on, and we keep on wanting to say that aspect of it because people who don't understand what you do think, they're in there just to sit there and pull families apart. I said, they do the exact opposite. Are you kidding me? They want the families to stay together. They want to do everything they can to get the families to stay together. Obviously, if it's a dangerous situation for the child, that's not going to happen at that point. But the ultimate goal is always to reunite, is it not?
Correct. Yes, that's our number one goal. And like I mentioned also a little bit just ago, is that I think we're going to see further reduction as the other side of the agency becomes, we've just now currently, recently, I should say, have a contractor that's going to be working on the prevention side. So that is coming to fruition, hopefully later on in the fall, early winter, that we will actually have an agency working with us to do that prevention work.
Right, exactly. So, Yvette, you went through the program, I guess, at some aspect of it, and talk about your experiences.
It's a little bit different now because so much has changed from when I was in care. I went in care when I was 5 years old, and when I was in care, Polinsky didn't exist, and now it does.
Right.
So there's a lot of different things, but like Diana said, I'm so happy to be a part of the foster care system on this side now.
Right.
And being able to see how much has grown. When I was in the foster care system, Dave Pelser was like my role model. Like everybody used to get the book, A Child Called In, that was like your Bible. And just kind of hearing his experience. And then when I was in care and now the way that things are, I just think everybody is coming together to try to make it like a better community, especially for foster kids.
Right. And, so you're there at 5, okay? And now you're a little older than 5 right now in that aspect of it. But what would you say that, some of the most important things that you've taken away from it? You're very poised, by the way, and you're doing a great job, and you probably can take over and host the show, and I'll sit on the other side with Diana on this.
Sure will.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do great on it. But building confidence, talk about how important that is, from what has happened from you were there.
I want to say, really, in the foster care system, I think I was in the tornado. It was the process. So I didn't really see things until after.
Right.
I think after the foster care system and adulthood, things started to settle.
Right.
I will say that I can't sit here and say that people didn't try to help me. I think back then I was just kind of going through a hard time, but everything eventually did settle.
Right.
And I was able to learn. I'm also in college, and so I've taken public speaking. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I feel like those things have really helped me, and just the people I've connected to, like my teachers and my professors. And I give a lot of credit to a lot of the women that were in my life that helped me and taught me, because I didn't have my own mother. And just sometimes being in the foster care system, you're kind of overlooked with certain things. They provide for you, they feed you, they clothe you.
Right.
But certain things like emotional intelligence or critical thinking skills, those things are kind of overlooked, especially because in the foster care system, they're dealing with a lot of crises.
Right.
And so trying to stabilize you is one thing. But I feel like, I want to give credit to the women and all of the people that have helped me get to where I am.
No, that's great. Well, what school do you go to?
I'm currently at SDSU.
Go at Aztec for a while. See what I got? I got my SDSU dad shirt on over here. And I actually graduated from San Diego State, as is my daughter, who's now teaching in the Poway School District.
Wow.
She's a fourth grade teacher and so forth. And she'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this aspect of it. So, Diana, when you hear from Yvette and all these things, sort of a poster child for this is, what we need to do in this area. What advice do you give for people? I think you are bullish on it's important to have one adult that loves you in this area. Talk about that.
Yeah, one caring adult, right? Yvette and I talk a lot about that. Yeah, it's important. Yvette and I were talking just a little bit earlier about how she made a really good point about looking at when people come in to do this work, they might hear about a child on paper or be told something, but to really get to know this child or youth and appreciate them for who they are and just give them what they need, not fulfill a void for themselves. I always say this work cannot be about filling my void as an adult, but really wanting to do good things for supporting a youth in care.
Yeah, and I think you brought in a superstar last time that came in. Yeah, exactly. And how long had she been doing this for?
35 years.
30.
Like that,
oh my goodness! And just remarkable, and still doing it. Correct.
Mm-hmm. She still is.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's not lost on me. And I might have brought this up, Diana, on the other couple of times you've been on the show, and Yvette, this will be the first time you're hearing it, of course. One of the frequent guests we have on is Just in Time for Foster Youth, and we bring Don Wells. And Don and I actually used to be in the same space. He was the news director for Channel 10, and I worked as running community and public relations for the Union Tribune a zillion years ago, but not quite a zillion years ago. But what Don had, said, and I said quite a bit, and I might have said it with you, Diana, before, and maybe you can address this, Yvette, is the amount of people that are out there, shocking as it is, of kids who've never heard the word "I love you" and have never been hugged and have never been shown any respect. That's not a small number in this. Talk about how important that is, Yvette, to you to have someone that shows that they really care about you.
I actually, as Diana mentioned, we were just talking about that. And Diana was my social worker for 3 years. And county workers...
Boy, are you lucky.
Yeah, well, she... amazing.
And she was lucky too.
Yeah. But she... you just get so many people in your life. You learn to recycle people. And when I was in the foster care system, I thank you for bringing that up, because when I went in the foster care system when I was 5, and I think the very first time I heard someone say they love me, that was a part of the foster care system, was when I was 15 or 16 with the brunettes. That was the first time I think that they actually said that. But also there's this big thing about boundaries in the foster care system. So you can't hug
I understand.
others and stuff. So I think that that's also like why. But yeah, I feel like the boundary situation is one thing, but then also the love where somebody tells you that they love you. I think I actually didn't hear that until I was 16.
Right. Which only if anyone's listening, and I know there are people listening to the show, you should practice that every single day when with whether it's your kids or your cousins or your grandkids or whatever the case may be. I make a point. She probably rolls her eyes a little bit too much at me on this. I've told my daughter I've loved her for every day of her 30 years she's been around. Every day. It'll never fail.
Mm-hmm.
And in that aspect of it, because it really makes all that sense. We come back from a break, Diana and Yvette. Let's talk more about, the situation. What advice you would give to people, Yvette, you went through the system, and it's a lot different, as you said, now than it was when you were there. And Diana, we always leave time for what our listeners can do to support your efforts. We can't do enough in this space. When we return with Diana Macis, she's the Protective Services Program Manager for the County of San Diego Child and Family Wellbeing, joined by Yvette Romero, an Aztec for life, I believe.
Yes.
Exactly. She's a former foster youth. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things for San Diegans, whether it's in food insecurity, whether it's in literacy, whether it's in art, whether it's in child support. They've been with people shoulder to shoulder. We will be right back after this short break.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 60 years, just doing great things for people living in San Diego County. So happy to have a return appearance from our friends from the County of San Diego Child and Family Wellbeing, Diana Macis. She's the Protective Services Program Manager, and chatting with Yvette Romero, an SDSU student and a former foster youth, just giving some great feedback on this. So Diana, what can we do to support, the 4 million things that you guys do on a daily basis?
Well, we do need people in the community to come forward and be a resource parent. We do have a high need for older youth, sibling groups, children maybe that might have some type of either medical or developmental, I wouldn't say challenge, but, need, right? That they might need a little extra care. Doesn't mean that they are difficult or anything like that. We try and really stay away from those words when we're describing our youth, because they're kids just like any other kids. Yeah. They've just unfortunately been through a traumatic experience.
Right. And we had the Home of Guiding Hands just right before you. Myself, you guys exchanged when you guys were walking. They've been doing this for 40 plus years in that area. And I think maybe you can explain to the audience that didn't hear your last interview what a resource parent does.
So a resource parent is approved through our county via some state guidelines that we have. And once they're approved in San Diego, and it's really all of California that has this guideline, is they're approved to be a foster parent. So the term foster parent is much more popular, and or adoptive parent. So they go through one process to be one or the other, or both.
Right. Exactly. Is there a shortage of resource parents or foster parents in our area or not?
I think like when Marianne and I were here, we talked about a shortage of maybe foster parents that are willing to take those youth that I just identified.
Right.
A lot of people come into this wanting to take maybe a baby, but we really have a need for that youth population that I mentioned just a little bit earlier.
Right. And that is really critical. So again, what are you studying at SDSU?
I'm triple majoring.
Oh, that's all? Okay, very good. And what are the majors? I'm
majoring in communication, religious studies, and political science law.
How are you managing all of those?
I'm trying my best.
Oh, my goodness. So my background, I was a journalism major at San Diego State, which is now under communications. And so I've worked with those guys for quite a while. What do you like about the communications part of your studies? What do you like doing?
Oh my gosh, I love communication. I feel like every human being needs to take communication.
100%.
Right.
Like 100%.
Exactly. So you know.
I do know. No, but I think it's better to hear from you because people know Drew says this. I've been saying it for many, many years. Actually, when I was working for the Union Tribune and I knew the superintendent at city schools quite a bit. We did a lot of work together. Alan Burson was a superintendent. Tough superintendent, I must add. But I said, listen, Alan, every kid should have a class on understanding the media, okay? You call it communications or what you want, because they're not going to be with textbooks after they're either 18 or 20 or 22 or whatever the case may be, or a graduate student. They're going to be with the media forever and know how to communicate. And I'm so glad you're saying that. Why do you feel so passionate about the communications aspect?
Well, it is communications, but also human communication.
Yes.
So like the relationships and communicating like that. I'm like, it's all blinking in my brain right now. But that communication aspect of the human communication, but also the media, because where we are today, like you can do so much with the media,
right?
More than you could before. You can bring out so much more awareness, connect with so many people around the world more than we could, And so I feel like I even tell my own children, like in today's day and age, ignorance is a choice. Like
spot on.
You should be able to there's so much information out there, whether it's personal life experiences or professionals and experts sharing their expertise. There's so much information out there.
Yeah. So Diana, you don't mind if we just continue the conversation for the next 3 weeks? Because I couldn't tell you how much I agree 2 billion% about that aspect of it. When did this epiphany hit you? When did you say, okay, this is what's so important, and this is why we need to really focus on communication, because everything you said is 100% correct?
I will just be really honest and put it in a nutshell. I was 25 years old and I was working at Starbucks and I was cleaning windows and I realized this is my life. And I never, growing up in the foster care system, I didn't think that I could go to college.
Right.
And so then just that day I was like, I'm going back to school. And I went back to school and it took me a while to pass, but I wanted to go in as a criminal, for criminal justice, and then ended up in a communication class. But that communication class, from that beginning, I loved it. I loved everything that they were trying to teach you. The fact that communication is receiver-based, that there's channels. I was like, what? This is a whole different world. I kind of have OCD, and so it just made so much sense to me.
Yeah, this is great. You don't mind if I ignore you for a second?
Go for it.
I apologize for this because I never know this would take this turn on this. Everything you said is 100% correct. And funny you bring this up because one of the things when I taught part-time at San Diego State a long time ago in journalism, writing for the media, information gathering. And my first lecture was always on listening. And they go, why are we doing listening? I said, if you want to be a good journalist, if you want to be a good anybody for that matter, you need to listen. Well, I listen. I go, no, you hear, but you don't listen, okay? And it's getting back to what you were talking about, the receiver, and the receivee, so to speak, partnership. We're terrible at listening. because we think we're going to finish the sentence of somebody, which means you're not listening, you're hearing in this aspect of it. And maybe this does tie into a little bit of the world you're in, Diana, as well. So much of this, the breakdown in people, families, how we treat, each other, is that we don't listen, we don't communicate. And so much of it is, I didn't know that was what you were trying to communicate. What's because you're not listening? It's all about relationships, right, Diana?
Oh, yes. And as you're talking, I'm thinking, wow, 20 years ago or more, when I first started, for example, I would create a family's case plan. Well, I'm not listening if I'm creating it, right?
Right.
I'm not listening to what they feel they need
That's right.
to reunify. And now, of course, we do our work very differently. We actually have the family create and listen about what do they need. So we're there to support them. We are not there to tell them this is what you need, because the family knows best what they need, right? Of course, some people may struggle with that, but we're here to guide them. We're not here to. So it really does take, as social workers, listening is super important.
Right. And it's all about communication. And you're so right on this event. I'm so glad to hear to say that. And we're in a world with so much noise, to say the least, with social media and everything in between. I'm hopeful, without being a Pollyanna, no one's accused me of ever being a Pollyanna for that matter, but that we will get back to the point where we can be more civil, and we can understand it's okay to have differences, okay? Nothing wrong with that, but, communicate. Now, I understand how you feel differently. Don't necessarily agree, but I understand how to do that. But when it comes down to it, it all does tie into what you deal with all the time, Diana. And I imagine with you, Yvette, of what makes a great person that cares about you, because they're listening. So you got 3 majors, okay? Are you close to finishing up, or you got some more time?
I should be done by next December.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
Do you know what you want to do with either one of those majors?
So I definitely want to go into law school.
Okay.
I'm very interested in the courtroom.
Yeah.
So I want to do civil litigation. But recently, the sea lions at the Cove have really stolen my heart. So I want to try to get into some animal activism legally.
In the law. So do you have, you're going to be taking the LSAT next year, I take it, or something, if you want to go into law, right?
Yes, I'm hoping next year sometime.
Next year, right, exactly. And then will you stay in San Diego or go to any law school that takes you?
To be honest, I think it's really cool because just recently they started passing a lot more help for former foster youth as myself.
Fantastic.
And so 10 years ago, I would not have been able to go to SDSU.
Right.
But now I'm able to go to SDSU. So it really does depend. I'm hoping that I'm really smart. So I'm hoping I can get more scholarships so I can stay in San Diego. It's really expensive here. But if not, maybe one day I'll go to Harvard.
Absolutely. In fact, we always like to say this on my show here, Diana. I'll be able to say I knew Yvette when, when she becomes our U.S. Attorney General, okay, in how many years from now. I said, did you interview an Yvette Romero back then? I go, yes.
She won't. Make me cry.
she won't remember me, but I'll shoot her a note and say, remember me about 15 years ago? You were on a podcast here in San Diego on this. Diana, what can we do to support you guys again? Become resource parents, become foster parents, whatever the case may be. Donate money. Does donation help at all? Not really, correct?
No, but there are a variety of, if you go to our website, SD Cares, the number 4 kids, you will see there's a wide variety of resources or places that, partnerships that we work with, like Promises to Kids, that you could volunteer at, donate. But for the agency, it's being a resource parent, a foster parent. Right. There are mentor programs for youth that actually Promises to Kids now runs that program. We used to run it as a county.
Right.
That support also siblings. So there's a number of different ways, and our website has a lot of information about that.
Yeah, and Promises to Kids, Tanya and her team are very frequent guests on the show, as you may or may not know in that area. Well, One, it's great seeing you, Diana. You always have some great, content. I can't thank you enough for bringing in this brilliant San Diego State student, Yvette Romero. Listen, you are going to be successful no matter which field you're going to go into. It was an honor having you on the show. Would love to have you come back on somewhere down the road, maybe in the spring, and just say how the study is going, X, Y, and Z, and talk about that. I could not agree more with you. Obviously, I'm a little prejudiced because of communications and my background. But if everybody learned how to communicate and took a communications class all through K through 12, I think we'd be a little bit better in how we get along with folks in that aspect of it. Yvette Romero, absolutely enjoyed having you on. Congratulations. Continue great work at San Diego State. Diana, you're a treasure, you and your whole team, of what you're doing for San Diego County. And we'll look forward to having you back on somewhere down the road.
Well, thank you for having us, Drew. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 18th year, brought to you by the very cool people at Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, just doing great things. If you live in San Diego County, we've been enjoying our conversation with Diana Macis, Protective Services Program Manager for the County of San Diego Child and Family Wellbeing, joined by Yvette Romero, Aztec for Life, and a former foster youth. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.